Okay, welcome to my first YouTube video on my channel, like my first actual face-to-camera YouTube video. If you don't know me, my name is Win or Wenny, and I am starting this channel to share about my experiences and perspectives and like the raw and real of what goes on as a single mom in general, but also a single mom who is full-time traveling the world with her 3-year-old toddler. So if you want to see more content like this or just stay up to date with our travels, then hit that subscribe button and let me know if you want to see anything else in future videos. So what do I really think about my situation? This has changed a lot over the years. Growing up in the West and in a country like the US that glorifies hyper-independence and hyper-individualism, it was very challenging to see the programs that I had been indoctrinated with, I guess, and the things that I had also believed to be true, and then to actually be put in a situation that really could not coexist with those beliefs, and noticing what it did to my self-worth, my confidence, and my ability to mother in a way that was truly sustainable. So ultimately, a lot of the beliefs and the way that society and the economy is structured in the US, it was actually really, really harmful to my motherhood experience. And yeah, I really judged myself for a lot of years and was very vulnerable to the judgments of other people. Okay, so a little bit of backstory, and I'm not gonna share too much so that I can respect the privacy of the people involved. But essentially, I made the decision to have Akash when I found out I was pregnant, single. So I made that decision alone, and I was about 2 months pregnant at that time. We did try to make things work for a few more months, but ultimately it was not the right outcome for us, and it was not the healthiest, and it was not the most harmonious outcome. So me and Akash's dad went our separate ways when I was about 6 months pregnant, and I have been a solo mom ever since. So honestly, making the decision to be a single mom was not hard compared to the decision to be a mom in general. Because when it comes to being single, I already am someone who is so self-growth focused. I'm someone who places her freedom and independence above everything else. And I'm always asking myself the question, like, what experiences are gonna bring me the most growth and emotional fulfillment? And I always move in that direction. So once I decided that yes, I wanted to be a mom and I wanted to pursue this direction, and I was open to my life changing in this way, when it came to being single or not single, like that was such a minute decision compared to like the grand scheme of things. It was like, okay, what is gonna elevate me the most and Akash the most, and what is the most harmonious decision for all parties involved, knowing that all parties have free will. Again, I'm not gonna go into the details of the why or the context or anything like that, but for me, I was like, I can do this alone if I'm gonna choose to do this. So yeah, that decision was not super hard. Ultimately, I have a lot of friends and have talked to a lot of people who have struggled to make that transition, and I totally understand, especially because we live in a society that puts the, like, what is that called? Like the family unit is just mom, dad, and baby, and that's it. And that's not how it is in other countries. That's not how it is in other traditions. And usually there's like a much larger unit. There's a community, there is a village, there's many helping hands. But when you are in a country that glorifies hyper independence and not needing anyone, becoming a single mom is a really, really scary decision to make. So I completely understand why people hold on to relationships that aren't working, that are toxic, that are even abusive, because the transition to single motherhood feels so much harder. I can assure you that all of the people that I have talked to, and in my own experience, and in the experiences that I have seen, moving on and doing what is best for you and your child is going to be the biggest sigh of relief, because none of that toxicity and abuse is ever going to be worth it. It is so much easier to do it on your own than it is to do it poorly. And I did not want to be someone who did it poorly. I did not want to be someone who did it with harm, with toxicity. Anyways, there's so much more that I could say about that, but I won't. I know that humans are resilient. I know that miracles are possible. And my spirituality is truly my anchor in moving through this journey with the strength and belief. So, of course, the elephant in the room when it comes to navigating the logistical help, the logistical aspects of what a partner can provide, and even the financial, of course, there were doubts and there was nervousness around that. But at the same time, I knew that nothing was truly inherently missing, because I just do not believe that some people are more worthy of peace and joy than other people. There are people who have been through far more than me, who have gone through way worse than me, and have alchemized their experiences so deeply that they have changed the world because of it. They have made the world an infinitely better place because of the way that they were able to alchemize and face and rise above their own situations. So honestly, when I look at my situation, I feel so grateful. Like, I have it so good, and the expansion that comes with the hardship and the healing that has come with it, it's just unmatched. So even being a single mom, and even when it does get really hard, I know that I'm not defined by this experience. And even when it comes to love and relationships, like, if you're alone, it just means that you have more to learn and work through alone than with a partner, and that's neither good nor bad. And because life is always changing and everything is always temporary and nothing is meant to stay the same, it's like, okay, looking at my situation and knowing that it's not always going to be this way, what can I really, really, really enjoy and just find so juicy about what it is that I'm doing right now? And honestly, I love being single. I mean, I've always really loved being single. And while it is difficult, I feel like traveling as a single woman is really fun because you have the opportunity to make more friends, to get out of your comfort zone and build community, to lean into intimacy in unconventional situations. So not just intimacy with a partner, but intimacy in your friendships, and asking for what you need in your friendships, and being vulnerable in your friendships, and like allowing your shadow and your insecurities to come out with your community, with the people that are right around you. Maybe they're just someone that you met for the hour at the top of a mountain when you're doing a hike in another country. But it's like everybody has like a little piece of magic to gift you on your journey. And how I see it is like, you know, in the video games where like you're running around the street and there's like those little coins that you need to pick up, and you like run into a coin and it goes bing, and it like adds to like your little treasure chest of points or whatever. Like, that's really how I see traveling, and that's how I see my interactions with other people and strangers. And I am just really soaking in being single right now because I can really, 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 truly do whatever it is the fuck I want to do without anyone else's perspective, without anyone else's projections, without anyone else's stories and filters. It's just me and my son. We get to flow together. We get to co-create. If I need help, I trust that the help is coming. I trust that I can shift my perspective internally as much as possible. And if there's things that I really need help with, I have the practices and tools to work through them, to work through the frustration, to work through the grief. Sometimes you just don't have the help, and it just is what it is. Sometimes it just is what it is. And you have to face how fucking hard it feels. And then also, it's like making it a priority to find schools and find meetups and find places where I can ease the burden that I feel at times and the weight of responsibility that I feel at times. So it's really like this roller coaster, honestly. Like, you're never gonna find that one thing. Like, a partner is not gonna be the thing that fixes the burden of parenthood. I mean, even with two parents, they're struggling. And even I watched a podcast recently from like a really, really well-known and famous divorce lawyer. He said that the number one reason why people come in for divorce is actually because of how their relationship changed after having kids together. And he said that one of the riskiest things you can do in a relationship is to have a kid with someone. And obviously that's really dramatic. I'm not trying to plant negativity into someone's mind. I'm just saying that like having a partner, not having a partner, that's not necessarily going to solve all of your problems. So for me, it's like people look at me, and I know that sometimes people feel, I think most of the time people are really inspired, but sometimes people are like, oh my God, like I feel so bad for you. In a way, and they look at me with such pity, and I totally get it. But even when you have someone, not everyone is lucky enough to have that person that really, really harmoniously works with you. So ultimately, you really, really need to have that anchor within yourself, and you need to be connected to yourself and to have tools and practices that are going to assist you in the chaos and the unpredictability and the changes that come with being a parent. That is not up to your partner to carry that weight for you. So on the highest level of this, seeing my life as a single mom, I trust that now God is my co-parent. I'm not lacking anything by being alone. It's just coming to me in other ways. And even when I maybe need to invest more in childcare than somebody who has a partner to watch their kids, that money will just come back to me in another way. I don't believe that God is just saying, ooh, you just lose. Sorry. It's like your situation is going to look different. I'm going to package the things that you need to look different. I'm going to give you the avenues for emotional fulfillment in a way that looks different. I'm going to give you the affection that you need in a way that just looks different, because I do not believe that we are truly lacking in anything, and that we live in an abundant universe where maybe something has not materialized here right now, but it doesn't mean that we don't have access to it. It doesn't mean that we don't have just as good of a chance as anybody else. And this is something that's really foundational in a lot of religions, right? Like there's this idea, this cliche, no matter what religion you subscribe to, it's that God doesn't overlook you. It's that God doesn't overlook your circumstances. It's you are not undeserving compared to somebody else, and miracles are possible for you too. There is no lack when you believe in God. And so for myself personally, like yes, I may be lacking in a partner to bounce ideas off of, but let's say on an energetic level, there's truly no lack. So who am I really bouncing ideas off of now? Well, now that's just going to be my environment. Rather than having a partner to be like, hey, I just looked up a really good place to eat and it's over here, I'm just gonna stay in my flow. I'm gonna be hands off the wheel. I'm gonna be like, okay, God, you figure this out. I've already done so much for our day-to-day. I don't know where we're supposed to go to this. Then we have a train to catch. We need to go here, but with this station, I need to figure out how to get a taxi because we live in this rural area, so now we have to walk, or I have to call somebody. Oh, I need to sign up for this, but I don't have an Indian number. Who can I ask to give me their phone number? Like, there's so much that goes into traveling in another country when you're alone. But the point is that I kind of am just like, I'm doing my part, but I cannot do it all. And I don't want to do it all anymore. That's the thing about the US, is that it like pedestalizes this idea that you need to do it all in order to be successful, and you need to do it all alone. And that just cannot coexist with motherhood, first of all, but especially with single motherhood. And if you have this belief coexisting with a circumstance like single motherhood, you are set up to see yourself as a failure. And it's just not true that you're a failure. No matter what, it's just not true. So therefore, one of these things is wrong. Well, I'm not wrong for my circumstances. I'm not just a bad person now because of my circumstances. So it's obviously not single motherhood that's the issue. It's the environment that is reflecting single motherhood. And that would be the beliefs that we've been indoctrinated by society, which says you need to be a really good worker in the workforce, and you need to hustle, and you need to work really hard to make money. You got to do it all. You got to work so hard, every person out for themselves. Why? Because that is what makes the most money. So these two things cannot coexist together, and I have completely shed this idea that I need to do it all to be successful, and I need to do it all alone to be a good mom. It's just not true. Back to kind of shifting my perspective around lack and how I'm making up for it in my environment. It's like, okay, instead of having someone to give me advice or to book things for me, it's just like now the environment is just showing me where to go and how to plan. I just need to go with whatever's available to me in that moment and trust that where I'm going is going to have what I need. trusting the process, trusting that what I really, really need is accessible and available to me. And I really need to just stop telling the story. I just am never gonna have it good because I don't have a partner. Since when has that ever been the truth? Ever? Since when has that ever been preached? Since when have you ever resonated with that truth? Maybe society told you that. Maybe we didn't grow up really resourcing from ourselves and loving ourselves and validating ourselves. So our ego is hit if we don't have a boyfriend, but someone else has a boyfriend. Whatever your personal journey is with relationships. But like, for me to even say those words out of my mouth, like, I'm less because I don't have a partner. That's like foreign material. What did I just eat? Like rubber? So it's just like, if that's not the truth, then I have the same access that everybody else has. And you have the same access that everybody else has, despite what your external circumstances may be. So you have to leave room for miracles if you want to have a journey that is going to defy what most people have lived. That's why I kind of bring up that perspective shift of, you know what, despite what my circumstances may be, I can choose to give them meaning that is ultimately going to be emotionally fulfilling, meaning that is going to be inspiring, meaning that is going to help me elevate and be more optimistic and be more open and expansive and healed in my experiences. Like, you get to decide. And that is really my biggest anchor in philosophy as a single mom. It's having that spiritual anchor and grounding and choosing to make something meaningful and something sacred and something deeply connective out of my experiences, and to see things as a rite of passage, to see things as ceremonial, to see the things that happen in my life as the universe loving me, as the universe speaking to me, reminding myself that God has not forgotten about me, that God has not overlooked my circumstances or your circumstances, and that has opened me up to so much more. Like, this is what I'm doing. And even if you want to play devil's advocate and be like, no, none of that's true. It's like, okay, well, until you pass away and enter the afterlife, whatever you believe about it, you will not know. None of us will truly know. We may have our ideas about it. We may have our strong beliefs about it. We may have heard other people's stories about it, or like come to a logical idea of what it may be through physics or science or whatever. But the truth is, the deepest truth is, you do not know until you experience it for yourself. And until then, why would you not try and make the most meaning that is going to uplift you out of your experiences? Why would you choose to tell a doubtful story when you literally could choose to tell a more empowering story? Now, a lot of this is focused on the spiritual aspect. I do feel like it's important to note that spiritual truths do not always fulfill physical needs. We have a need for emotional and nervous system regulation in this life. We have a need for safe physical touch from other people. We have a need to be around other humans. While I say God is my co-parent, there are definitely days where I'm like, I just want someone to hug at the end of the day. And that is equally valid. So while I share all of these things, I also want to really note that I'm not spiritually bypassing the human self that I have. Like I mentioned earlier, it is really important to have practices and tools and anchors in your life to move through physical, external situations that they just are what they are. And it's like, what else can you do? It's out of your control. So therefore, you need to have some resources to really ground you to move through this time. With that though, I have learned to ask for more help. I have prioritized like finding, daycare or something, just like even booking hotels or spaces that are just going to be more easeful for me as a parent, going places that are going to be more easeful for me as a parent and help me feel more self-sufficient. So there's been a lot of like minor shifts in the decisions that I've made as a traveler in order to lessen the physical responsibility that's going to be on my shoulders so that this can be sustainable. Another thing about all of this too is that like I have been able to receive what I have needed as a single parent truly, I believe because of my beliefs and the mentality shifts that I've had as well. I have trusted that because I was meant to bring Akash here, I'm also going to have the resources and support that I need to do this. It may not always be done in the easiest way, but it's going to be done in a way that grows me into the best person that I'm going to be and the best mother that I can be for Akash. So I feel like that pretty much sums up everything. Essentially, like, spirituality is my anchor. I do not believe that we are ever in lack. I trust the process. I trust God as my co-parent. I trust that everything happens for a beneficial reason, or I'm going to make a beneficial reason out of it to further empower myself on my journey and to glean even more wisdom from those experiences so that I can take whatever comes to me to make me and fuel me into an even better version of me, because what else are you gonna do? What else are you gonna do? And I'm always asking myself, what experiences and choices are going to bring me the highest level of emotional fulfillment and growth, and I base all of my directions off of that. And it has truly changed my life, and I have lived such a meaningful and beautiful life because of it. And I want to get the most out of my experiences here because I don't know what's coming. I don't know what's coming when I pass, so might as well just live it up. Please hit that subscribe button if you want to support Akash and I on our journey, and comment if there's anything else that you want to see from the future, or if there's any questions that you have or anything that really resonated with you. And of course, feel free to share this with anybody that you think would find any interest in it. Thanks for being here, and until next time.